Om Shpad Param Saparvajakacarya Ashtotra Sutta Shri Shishmat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narothamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jaya Mudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead, text 40 and 41. Please repeat after me. Mahimanam Vilokyasya Mahimana Vilokyasya Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Athodyam Vithudan Slokan Athodyam Vithudan Slokan Satre Aghayat Prachatasam Satre Agayat Prachetasam Mahimanam Mahimanam Vilokyasya Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Atyodam Vitudan Slokan Satre Agayat Prachetasam Mahimanam Vilokyasya Narado Bhagavan Rishihi Athodyam Vitudan Slokan Satra Agayat Prachetasam Mahimanam Vilokayasya Slokan Satre agayat prachetasam. Plain water? Tap water. Just Satre gayat prachetasam. Mahimana vilokyasya. Narado Bhagavan Rishihi. Atodhyan Vyudan Slokan. Satre agayat prachetasah. Mahimanam vilokyasya. Narado Bhagavan Rishihi. Atodhyam Vidudan Shlokam. Sadre Agayat Prachetasam. Thank you. Please repeat after me. Sorry. Mahimanam. Glories. Vilokya. Observing. Asya. Of Dhruva Maharaj. Naradaha. The great sage Narada. Bhagavan. Equally as exalted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rishihi, the saint. Atodhyam, the stringed instrument. Veena. Vithudan, playing on. Shlokan, verses. Satre, in the sacrificial arena. Agayat, chanted. Prachetasam, of the Prachetas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After observing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, the great sage Narada, playing his veena, went to the sacrificial arena of the Prachetasas and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. Please repeat after me. After observing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, the great sage Narada, playing his veena, went to the sacrificial arena of the Prachetas and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. Purport. The great sage Narada was the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj. Certainly, he was very glad to see Dhruva's glories. As a father is very happy to see the son's advancement in every respect, so the spiritual master is very happy to observe the ascendancy of his disciple. I was asked to speak the next verse as well, so I'll just read through that. Narada Vacha Nunam Sunite Phati Devatayas Thapa Prabhavasya Sudasya Tham Gathim Drishvat Pyupyan Abhiveda Vadino Naivadigatham Prabhavati Kim Nupam. Narada Vacha, Narada said, Nunam, certainly Sunitaha of Suniti, Pati Devathaya, very much attached to her husband, Tapa Prabhavasya, by the influence of austerity, Sutasya, of the son, Tham, that Gathim position, Drishva, observing, Abhyupayan, the means, Api, although Vedavadinaha, strict followers of the Vedic principles, of the so-called Vedantist, na, never, eva, certainly, abhigantum, to attain, prabhavanti, are eligible. Kim, what to speak of? Nripa, ordinary kings. Translation: the great sage Narada said, simply by the influence of his spiritual master, spiritual advancement, and powerful austerity, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Suniti, who was devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for the so-called Vedantists or strict followers of Vedic principles, not to speak of ordinary human beings. Purport: in this verse, the word Vedavadinaha is very significant. Generally, a person who strictly follows the Vedic principles is called Vedavad. There are also so-called Vedantists who advertise themselves as followers of Vedanta philosophy, but who misinterpret Vedanta. The expression Vedavada Ratha is also found in Bhagavad Gita, referring to persons who are attached to the Vedas without understanding the purport of the Vedas. Such persons may go on talking about Vedas or may execute austerities in their own way, but it is not possible for them to attain such an exalted position as Dhruva Maharaj. As far as ordinary kings are concerned, it is not at all possible. The specific mention of kings is significant because formerly kings were also Raja Rishis, for the kings were as good as great sages. Dhruva Maharaj was a king, and at the same time he was a learned as a great sage. But without devotion service, neither a great king, a Kshatriya, nor a great Brahmana, strictly adhering to the Vedic principles, can be elevated to the exalted position attained by Dhruva Maharaj. Om Jnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shyudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsam Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaganvitam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyatya Tesha Tarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes to the torch of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Mukham karoti vatsalam pangolanga ite girim yatripatama humande Shri Guru Shri Tinadarinam. Tave vasmi na jivami tave vina iti vignya devitvam naiman charanantikam. Hare Krishna. Good morning and welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class. We are continuing this chapter where Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Here Narada Muni is glorifying his disciple. So in the morning we sing the Samsara prayers. What is the fourth verse? Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasado Sadhana Triptam Hari Bhakta Sangam Kritaiva Triptim Bhajaga Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. So the significant word in that verse is triptim. It says the spiritual master is happy when he sees the disciples are satisfied. The disciples are satisfied. So similarly here in verse 40 you can see Narada Muni is very satisfied, is very happy to see his disciples succeed. Dhruva Maharaj succeed in his spiritual endeavor. So, when it comes to the human form of life, we encounter many people in our life. You know, we have our parents, friends, family, kith and kin, many people. But when it comes to being a real well-wisher, it is the spiritual master, the Acharya. The Acharya is the real well-wisher, because the Acharya is not only interested in the external material life of the individual, he is also very much interested in the Shreyas, or his everlasting happiness. He is very concerned about it. So it's very similar to my Vyasa Puja offering, which I just spoke a month ago. So Prabhupada is that Acharya. He's our ever well-wisher. He's happy to see that living entities have taken up devotional service, perfecting their life, going back to Godhead, spreading the Krishna conscious movement. So Prabhupada is our real well-wisher. So the spiritual master is our real well-wisher, because he's very happy to observe the disciple is making progress in their spiritual life. Other entities who come into our lives, parents, children, they might be somewhat interested in your spiritual life, but they are also subjective, in the sense they also want to make sure you become rich so that you can support them, or you give them money. So there is some kind of strings attached generally. I'm not saying all the time, but generally there are some strings attached. But when it comes to the spiritual master, his only goal towards his disciple is for the disciple to achieve the highest happiness, which can be attained only by becoming a devotee of Krishna. Many times people have asked Prabhupada, what will make you happy? Many times Prabhupada asked. Prabhupada many times gave many answers, but in one instance Prabhupada said, it will make me happy when you become Krishna conscious, when you become a pure devotee of Lord. That will make me happy. So you can see what satisfies pure devotee. In the same Samsara praise, Guru Ashtakam, the last verse is Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado. So this happiness derived by the spiritual master is a loop, in the sense Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado. The Lord is satisfied when the disciple satisfies the Guru. When the disciple how a disciple can satisfy the Guru? By following the instructions of the Guru. Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasado. So by getting the mercy of the Guru, the disciple gets the mercy of the Lord. So it's a loop. So the disciple satisfies the Guru is happy. And when the Guru is happy, the disciple is actually really becomes, in true sense, becomes happy, because as one satisfies the Guru, Krishna gets satisfied. On the other way around, Nagati Kutopi, when the spiritual master is not satisfied, there is no shelter for the person whose spiritual master is not satisfied. That is the injunction of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So here, Dhruva Maharaj upheld the teachings of Narada Muni, practiced devotional service, and perfected his life. Dhruva Maharaj is very significant because as a very young child, he was able to achieve the highest perfection in a very short interval of time. Just 6 months it took him, and he's just a child. And in context here, he was not an expert in Vedic scriptures. He was just a young boy. He was not even gone to Gurukul yet. Now, once he has gone to Gurukul, then the Veda Adhyana will start, but he was just a little toddler when he left home. So in Bhagavatam we can see, at least Dhruva Maharaj took 6 months. In Bhagavatam we can see there are instances where people achieved the perfection, love for Krishna. These ladies cannot shut up. I don't know what they have to speak all the time. Thank you. Yes, where I was. Yeah, there were many instances, examples in the scriptures where devotees have achieved perfection even in a very short interval of time. Very short interval of time. Can anyone give an example? Any examples from Bhagavatam? Prahlad Maharaj, okay. Parikshit Maharaj, not necessarily. Sixth canto. Who's in sixth canto? Ajamil. Ajamil, thank you. I was looking for Ajamil, yes. I mean, others do, but Ajamil was in the moment. Yeah. Momentary, he achieved. And it wasn't even directly, it was not even direct devotional service. On his deathbed, you know the story, on his deathbed, he was reaching out for his son, Narayana. But he chanted his son's name, Narayana. And because he chanted son's name, and his son's name was Narayana, because of some agyata sukriti, because of some causeless, unknown reason, a flash of remembrance of the Lord, just a flash of remembrance of the Lord came through his mind. And just because of that momentary flash of devotional service or remembrance of the Lord, immediately purified him. Immediately purified him. So in a momentary notice, Ajamil, from being a very sinful person, very sinful person, to the extent the Yamadutas were waiting there. They were, he is our right candidate. We'll make an example because he is the worst we can find. But by the momentary flash of remembrance of Narayana, immediately changed the fortune of Ajamil. So he didn't even 6 months. It didn't even take 6 months. Just a moment. There are also other instances. We can see Gajendra, the king of elephant, momentary. He was fighting for hundreds and thousands of years, and when he realized he can't do it anymore, momentary, he reached out to Narayana, and the Lord immediately reciprocated. And again, same thing. Gajendra is an elephant, and as an elephant, he is not well versed in Vedic, in Vedanta. He is not a Vedic scholar. Again, out of some agyata sukriti, for some costless mercy, momentarily he reached out to the Lord, and the Lord immediately reciprocated. There's also King Katvanga. Anybody heard of King Katvanga? He is the first avenger to go to interstellar battle. Avengers from Earth went and fought. Anybody read the? No? Okay. So it's from the comics. The Avengers are a few people who go over to other planets and fight. So Katvanga is the first human being to go to heavenly planets and fight. So when heavenly planet was under threat from demons, Indra and the demigods reached Katvanga, King Katvanga, to help them with the battle. And Katvanga helped the demigods to fight. And this battle went on for a long, long time. And eventually, King Katvanga was successful in his battle, defeating the demons. And out of some agyata sukriti, he's just a regular valiant king. I'm sure a king has some Vedic understanding and all, but he's been fighting in the battle, hands dirty. It's not the time where, all the Vedic philosophy is, comes to mind. But out of some good fortune, he asked the demigods, how long I have to live? How long I have to live? And the demigod said, only 8 um, shanas, 8 moments. It's not even 8 seconds, just 8 shanas. And King Khatvanga immediately redirected his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. Just in 8 moments, he perfected his life. Within 8 moments, he went back to Godhead. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says the same thing. One can, in a moment time, one can become a pure devotee. On the other hand, here, Prabhupada speaks about, even though the verse has many significant words like, Pati Devataya, one can speak about how the wife should behave towards her husband. There are many significant words. Prabhupada focuses on Vedavadino. Vedavadino means Vedavadis. We use a similar word all the time. Mayavadi. It's a similar word, not the same meaning. Excuse me. Vedavadi means one who follows Vedas strictly. So you have Mayavadis, who follows the Mayavad philosophy, are called Mayavadis. Similarly, we have Vedavadis who follow the Vedic injunction strictly. But here, when Narada Muni mentions Vedavadis, he makes a sarcastic notion. He mentions them in a sarcastic way. He's not mentioning in a true sense. Very similar to what Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Anybody remember that verse? Very similar? No. Yam imam pushpavitam vacham pravakshami avipashitaha vedavadarata partha what is that? Ainan astiti vadini. Yes, very similar. Vedavadarata partha. Again, Krishna makes a sarcastic comment on the Vedantist. Because what happens generally, it's funny, if you read the purport of that verse from Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada starts the purport by stating, people in general are not very intelligent. That's how he starts the purport. People in general are not very intelligent. They follow the Vedas for fruitive activities. So similarly here, Narada Muni also makes a sarcastic comment that the so-called followers of Vedas, strict adherers of Vedas, they don't achieve what Dhruva Maharaj has achieved because they do not know the essence, the real essence of Veda. They don't know the real essence of Veda. They are simply carried away by the flowery language offered in Vedas. Pushpavitam, flowery languages offered in Vedas. What are these flowery languages? The flowery languages of Veda is encouraging one to perform fruitive activities. Vedas recommend fruitive activities. By performing fruitive activities, one can stay happy in this world. But people are intelligent enough to know that this world is temporary, that their body is going to die. So the Vedas offer them, okay, no problem. You can continue this enjoyment in heavenly planets. Continue this enjoyment in heavenly planets by performing certain Vedic rituals, some Vedic rituals. So people generally get carried away by the boons offered by, the temporary boons offered by Vedas. Okay, you perform this yagya, this yagya, this yagya, you get this benefit, this benefit, this benefit, you keep enjoying it. And when your body dies, no problem, you perform this yagya, this yagya, this yagya, you will get promoted to heavenly planets. You can continue your enjoyment in heavenly planets. So these are some of the injunctions Vedas gives, and people get carried away by this. Less intelligent people get carried away by this. But again, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Abrahma bhavana loka punaravartina Arjuna. So as long as the bank balance of your punya or your fruitive activities is there, you can keep enjoying in heavenly planets. But as soon as the bank balance empties, you're thrown out. Abrahma bhavana loka punaravartina. Punaravartino. Again, avartino, you have to take birth. Again, come here again. And then you perform fruitive activities. And then you again go back to heavenly planets. And then eventually the bank balance will go off. Then you come back. So this process keeps going and going and going. So one might ask, oh, what's the problem? Okay. Now I'm enjoying here, I perform more, and I go and enjoy in heavenly planets. But there's an element of risk that when you come back here, you might get slightly distracted or make a small offense. And instead of going up, you might end up going down. What is that example given by Krishna in 10th canto? King Mriga. Is it Mriga? Nriga, okay, yeah. He ends up becoming, he was performing pious activities recommended by Vedas. By a slight mistake, a small mistake, he ends up becoming a lizard in a deep well. So you never know, our ego, our lust could, take over. And this guarantee of going up and coming down, going up and coming down, might also take you really down, and you might get stuck there for a long time. So instead of getting distracted by the flowery languages of Vedas, one has to understand what is the essence of Vedas. What is the essence of Vedas? Where does Krishna mentions the essence of Vedas? Anyone? Bhagavad Gita? Reconnect with God in devotional service. Yes. I'm looking for a verse. That's right. Yeah. Sarvasya jaham hidi sannivishta matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha. What is that? Vedeshu sarve aham eva vedya. Aham eva vedya. The essence. Vedanta krit vedavid. Cha eva aham. The essence is knowing me. Essence of the Vedas is knowing me. It doesn't stop with just knowing me. Of course, if you know somebody, you naturally will appreciate or reciprocate. So that is the real essence of Vedas. But the Vedantists ignore that real essence of Krishna. He is the real essence. They ignore him. And instead, they engage in all other activities mentioned in the Vedas. On the other hand, as we mentioned, even people who don't know the Vedas, like we saw Dhruva Maharaj, Gajendra, they all succeeded in spite of not knowing the Vedas in detail, because they've taken up devotional service to the Lord. So the key is, one has to take up devotional service, worship the lotus feet of the Lord, and that is what will gives you the ultimate benefit. Then naturally one might ask the question, why Krishna has provided the Vedas. Not only he has provided the Vedas, he says, what does he say in the 4th chapter? Yada yada hi dharmasya jnanirvavati vibharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmana sajamyaham. Every time the dharma gets disrupted, I come and re-establish. What is he establishing? He's establishing Vedic form of lifestyle, Vedic lifestyle. And he's doing so because he wants, the Vedas come from him. And why, establish something which is distracting. Because the devotional service is quite rare. It's not, even though it is easily available, it's easy, what is that? Rajavidya Rajagoyam Pavitram Susukam Kartamavyayam. Very easily performed. Same thing, 8th chapter 14th. Tasyaham Sulabham Partha. Very easily performed. But unfortunately, it's very rare for people to take up devotional service. Big city like Sydney, how many people are here performing devotional service? It's very rare. So to keep people in a civilized fashion, he provides Vedas. Vedas and Vedas is the theory and Varnashram is the practice. You have in school theory and practicals. So Vedas is the theory and Varnashram is the practical approach. So he provides this Dharma. He comes again and again, establishes Dharma, because this Dharma gives the platform for people for living entities who got human body to behave like human beings. Without this platform, they behave like animals. The good thing about human body is there's a slight opportunity for them to take devotional service. It is even further rare in animal body. Gajendra is 1 in a million example, 1 in a billion example. Human form, at least there is slight chance. And not only that, through following some of the Vedic injunctions, one can get some credits, Agyata Sukruti. What is that? I can't remember the verse from Bhagavad Gita, where it says punya is the prerequisite. Jananam punya karmanam. Yeah. So leading a pious life, having some pious credit, gives you the platform, like a prerequisite for a person to take up devotional service. Because the punya element purifies the material covering. It purifies the material covering. So by one who is not exposed to devotional service, one who don't have access to devotional service, but by performing punya, following the Vedic injunctions for those who don't have access to devotional service, they gradually purify themselves. In this process of going up and down, they gradually get an opportunity to break through that cycle. Let's see how, in a practical sense, you can see. For example, the Vedas recommend planting trees. By planting trees on the street, on the side of the street, not on the street, on the side of the street, you score X number of points to go to heavenly planets. If you dig a well, to dig a well, one must, to have a son, one must have dug a well in his previous life. Unless one has dug a well, he won't be blessed with a son. So, it recommends dig a well to achieve having a son. Having a son is a good thing, because the son might perform devotional service like Prahalananda Maharaj, like Dhruva Maharaj, and liberate. So, one other thing is, build shelter. So these are some of the punya karyas, activities, pious activities recommended in the scriptures, in Vedas. Outwardly, it's just, good charitable activities, gives you some points to go back to, to go to heavenly planets. There's two ways of looking at it. One who is seriously engaged in these pious activities, he has less time to get involved in impious activities. Pious activities at least purify you. Impious activities, on the other hand, if you're not following Vedas, you're leading an impious life, sinful life. Eating meat, exploiting women, alcohol. These activities are ugra karma. They make your coverings even stronger. To get out of it is even stronger. So you better, if you're not performing devotional service, at least perform pious activities, which is not adding more layer. For preaching from the news. Few young girls, born in Western countries. Naturally, Western countries means there's a bit of an opulence. They all go to where there's plenty of alcohol in Western countries, but they all go to Laos to consume alcohol. Did you guys read the news recently? All young girls, 19, 20, 21, 22, all from England, Danish, and Australia. country like this, there's plenty of alcohol. They go and drink alcohol in Laos, and that alcohol is home brewed, contaminated with methanol, and they're all dead. Yesterday, newspaper. So even though there's some pious credit, so you have some opulence, you exploit it, involved in sinful activities, and you lost the human form of life. So better, of course, you're not performing devotion service. Better not involved in sinful activities, be involved in pious activities. Okay? So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is these pious activities can also score you ajata sukruti. Ajata sukruti. How? I don't know, this is not really practical or visible in the day and age we live. I was seen in my part of my growing up and all. People, kings, people with money, they plant trees on the side of the road. And the sadhus, when they travel, they rest under the trees. And any interaction, directly or indirectly with the sadhu, gives you agyata sukruti. The guy could have planted the tree dead and gone long time ago. Long time ago. We may go on padayatra. We may park under a tree, sit down, take rest. Not we, maybe Kamsari devotees. And then suddenly, chiching, his bank balance suddenly goes up. He's dead and gone long time ago, long time ago. Some of these trees are 500, 300 years old. But some agyata sukruti, because it's punya karma. It doesn't happen through sinful activities. So at least Vedic injunctions, even though the person is not really intended, he didn't plant the tree intending to get agyata sukruti. He planted the tree to go to heavenly planets. But there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity, people dig wells, so that some sadhu goes by, trenches water, bathes his Shaligram Sila. He gets agyata sukruti. So it's better to follow the Vedic injunctions. Of course, one has to take up devotion service immediately. But the Vedas, the injunctions of Vedas are there for people who are less intelligent. So they remain sinless and also somehow engage them. Give them opportunity. So that's why Krishna comes and establishes Vedic culture. That's the theoretic Vedic culture. Varnashram. What is that? Dharma sanushrita pumsam, vishvakshena kadasana, nutpadayat. What is that? Nutpadayat. Shrama eva hi kevalam. Varnashram dharma. Varnashram. Brahmanas have particular duty, Kshatriyas has a particular duty, Vaishyas, Shudras, and women's particular duty is emphasized in this word, Pati Devataya. I know the modern feminists won't agree. Here, Narada Muni mentions, Suniti, even though her husband is a bit delinquent, he's a bit, is attached to his co-wife and neglected her, but she still worshipped him like a demigod. That is Sri Dharma. So these Varnashram principles are there. Again, these Varnashram by itself won't give you devotion service. It just Shama eva hi kevalam. It just involving in Varnashram Dharma without Hari Bhakti is just waste of time. Literally, Shama eva hi kevalam, just waste of hard work. But the same Varnashram Dharma acts when Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Narada Muni, Saint Narada Muni, asks him towards the end of the 7th chapter, after he describes Prahlad Maharaj's story of a pure devotee. Yudhishthira Maharaj asks, look, what happens to people who don't have spontaneous loving devotion to the Lord, like Prahlad Maharaj? Prahlad Maharaj, spontaneous. From the day he was born, even before he was born, he was spontaneous, loving devotion service to the Lord. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, he knows that not everybody has that spontaneity. Nobody has that rati mentioned in that verse, the attraction. So what happens to them? So he says, he recommends Varnashram Dharma. Not by itself, but with devotional service, with underlying, flow of devotional service. Through that, he gets quickly purified. He quickly develops that spontaneity, which is not there in the first place to start with. So the Varnashram Dharma is recommended. But again, if one ignores the undercurrent of devotional service mentioned and just focuses on Varnashram Dharma as a principle, it'll take him hundreds and thousands of lifetime just to attain the position of Brahma. Hundreds and millions of lifetime. By perfecting devotion, Varnashram Dharma, what happens is you get elevated to the planet of Brahma. And then when planet of Brahma's time finishes, then you go back to Godhead. It's a really long process by following Varnashram Dharma. By following only Varnashram Dharma without element of devotional service attached to it. That's why in this purport, Prabhupada says, great kings, Kshatriyas or great Brahmanas strictly adhere to the Vedic principles. Now, they are strict followers of Vedic principles of Varnashram Dharma, but cannot be elevated to the exalted position of what the Dhruva Maharaj has, because they lack that element of devotional service. So without that element of devotional service, it just Shrama Evahi Kevalam. So obviously the highest Dharma, Savepum Samparo Dharma, Eto Bhakti Adokshaje, the highest Dharma is to worship the Lord spontaneously. And if you don't have that spontaneous devotional service in our heart, we follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma to give us the protection which we need without falling back into animal form of life, and follow devotional service through sadhana bhakti, and then it quickly catapults. It's like in chemistry they use catalyst. If you have I can't think of any specific example. If you put two elements together, it'll take a long time for them to combine. But if you put a catalyst, and that catalyst will immediately trigger the reaction. So here the catalyst and the goal is the same, pure bhakti. But once you don't have it, you use Varnashram Dharma as a protective net so that you can perfect devotional service. And then one can achieve their desired success. So naturally Varnashram Dharma is not the goal, the devotional service is the goal. The spontaneous devotional service is the goal. It's 9 o'clock. I will stop here if you have any questions, comments, corrections. Yes. By itself, yes, you're right. By itself it is not. There's still an intervention required The intervention is through sadhu or the Lord, directly or indirectly, has to have that intervention. But punya gives you the platform. It gives you the fertile land for that seed to be planted. And that intervention happens. And the intervention can happen through the examples I gave, through Agyata Sukruti. Generally, like for example, Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Mahaprabhu was doing in his still Mayapur days, he was performing Sankirtan, private Sankirtan. The sitting and singing harmonium is a private thing, it's not for public. Now we have made it into a public thing. It's a private thing. And Mahaprabhu keeps complaining that I'm not feeling it. And again, only he can feel. We are not feelers. We don't have that. I'm just saying this as an example. I want people to get distracted. So he's saying, I'm not feeling this, and I'm not feeling anything. I'm not feeling anything. And so they check the place if somebody has infiltrated, and they find a young brahmachari from a Brahmana family, very austere, very young austere brahmachari, and he has most of his brahmacharya life, he sustained himself only by drinking milk. Very austere, very punya life, only drinking milk. But on the other hand, Mahaprabhu says, look, because of his presence, I'm not feeling anything. So they chuck him out. And he says, do you think devotion service, the feeling of devotion service is that easy that you can just perform some mundane austerity, that just because you're a milk drinker, you will get my love? It's very rare. It's not that easy. So yes, punya doesn't give it, but somebody has that intervention. So it's easier to intervene when you have a pious life. It's harder to intervene when you're entrenched in sinful activities, because the samskara keeps coming back. The previous taste keep coming back. So it's easier. And of course, devotion service is independent. What is that? Shudra, whatever. Sri Vaishya Yata Shudra. Papa Yonya. Even people born in the low birth, people who are Shudras, people who are Vaishyas, women, they also have access to devotional service. Devotional service is independent. It is not constrained by punya or papa, anything. Anybody can start, and it will give the benefit, but to take a safer approach, it's better to be pious than impious, because it has a tendency to drag you back. So it makes it foolproof. Varnashram Dharma makes it foolproof. The percentage of fall down, one person taking up through Varnashram Dharma, taking up devotion service through Varnashram Dharma, the likelihood of fall down is greatly reduced. So you take the safer approach. And that's why we don't recommend punya activities. On the other hand, we say by performing devotional service, what is that verse from 11th canto? My memory. Rishi, Deva Rishi Bhutanam, your obligation to them is all resolved. If you take up direct devotional service to the Lord, all this is all taken care. At the same time, you have to keep yourself sinless. You can't keep back and forth. It's like Kunjara Saucharam. taking bath of an elephant. Goes, takes bath and comes and puts dirt on our head. So to protect ourselves is the background, is that option. And also it's like feeding medicine to children. Feeding, if you give medicine to children, it's bitter, they don't take. But you camouflage it, you sugarcoat it, you hide it in a banana. I don't know what your parents did. How did you feed the medicine to you? Hide it in some sweet and give the sweet. The sweet is not the goal in that condition. The medicine is the goal. But this punya activities is like the sugar coating of the Vedas. One might, have a bit of intelligence, might think, excuse me, in doing all these things, but every time I do the conclusion, it says, Narayana Sarvamiti, everything is offered to Narayana. One might ask why. It might trigger that. But you don't get triggered by doing sinful activities. I'm sitting drinking in the pub and suddenly it's not going to come to me. I don't know. But when you're performing some kind of pious activities, there's more opportunity for you. So people who are materially inclined, so there's the way there's also sugarcoat them, the medicine, and then they engage in some pious activities, and that could trigger some agyata sukriti, and then a snowball effect, and one becomes a devotee. Okay. Makes sense? Okay. All right. If there is no questions, comments, I will complete here. Thank you. Kansat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nidai Go Premanande Haribo Jana. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhesha, Kripa Sindhya, Patitanam Brahmyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.